Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and on this month's Four Horseman build, we're tackling this Ford pickup truck. The theme is gas slash oil, and this one was a weird. I don't know. This one, the the casting itself lended itself. I stripped it down real quick. Um, I left it in the stripper a little too long, and trying to get the decals off, and some of the, I guess it's Zamac. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Came off the roof too, so it was a little bit of a challenge there. You can kind of see where it just peeled right off. I have no idea why, but I get this Maisto coupe that I want to use the wheels off of, and I'm kind of going old school with this to a degree. And as usual, I always pick wheels that absolutely do not fit. It'd be it's weird when I find wheels that actually fit and it's what I want. It's almost orgasmic because I'm constantly cutting and slicing just to make wheels fit, and this was no different. So these are kind of glued on. The axles have like a little knurled end, and it just adds a little bit of bite. But if you can twist the wheels back and forth like that, they do come off no problem, and gives you the opportunity. You can cut and do whatever you need to do. So this is a metal base, which made it, I like metal bases much better than plastic, except when it comes to wheels, because then it's a pain in the neck. But I primed it white to get started, just so I could see what I was up against. But with the wheels, after shortening them to fit in on the back for the wheelbase, obviously the size was just way too big. So the inside, I had to continually cut and trim and cut and trim and break my break my cutoff wheel. But once, and I've said this 1,000 times, it's not, you can hack out a bunch right off the bat, no problem. I tend to go, and I probably make more work for myself, but I always cut just a little bit at a time, what I think I need. And sometimes it's hard to tell until you actually have it sitting on the chassis, whether you cut enough. But for me, I can always cut more. If I cut too much, it just becomes a problem. So I always err on the side of caution, and I learned that the hard way when I first started off. You can see there I'm still contemplating, how much more I got to cut to make it look good. And if you watch any of my videos, it's all about the stance. But once I got that, I ended up, wet sanding it down, and I repainted it white. And I'm just using, this is the Tamiya primer, the fine white primer, and I'm actually using that as my base. And there was a certain look I wanted for this, and I'm going with Standard Oil, which is obviously an older brand, and has somewhat of a sordid history if you actually follow history, and its reputation during World War II was sketchy to say the least. But anyways, the goal here, I was kind of playing around with how I was gonna do this, what I wanted. A lot of this was decal work. I don't have a printer that can print white ink, so I've always felt limited on what I can do for decals because, I can either print them over a white decal paper or I can print them over clear. And a lot of the decals I print obviously have white in them, so I either have to really trim close to something or put it over a light color. So this time I opted for the white, and because of the logo the way it is, it was very simple to cut out around. So it worked out pretty good. I could actually print it on white for a change. But I wanted to add a little bit of color to this, and I ended up adding a lot of color to this instead of just leaving the roof. I just left the roof white essentially. But I wanted a certain finish, and I wasn't going to go rusty or anything like that, but I wanted a matte finish. So I kind of hemmed and hawed. I went into my Bucket O splash paints to try to find something that I thought was going to work. And the colors for Standard Oil are red, white, and blue. So, pretty much with the white roof, I had a choice. I could either go red or I could go blue. And the blue I had two shades, and both of them, it was either really light or really dark. and I didn't have a medium blue that I wanted. So I was kind of playing around there. It was like a burgundy. And then I just ended up going with the regular competition red to, put as my base. And I'm not going to bore you with all the paint. You've seen, an airbrush spray paint on something. It's not rocket science. But I like the splash paints for a lot of reasons. But one of them is it's a base coat clear coat system. So with just a base coat, it has a nice matte finish, which is exactly what I wanted. And it matched the white primer that I laid down as a base coat. So it really worked out well, and I'm not going to clear coat it. And it just has a nice satin finish, and that's exactly what I wanted for this. So it was kind of a resto mod look. I mean, it's not, I really don't know exactly what you'd want to call it. Everybody has a different version. So I'm not going to sit here and try to speculate what you're going to call it. But for me, I call it a resto mod. So what I did is I did print out decals on both white and clear just so I could play around and see exactly what I was going to do. And I end up using the clear on the roof because it worked out fine because the roof is white. And then I used the white printed decals on the side panels on the doors. So overall, I love these Four Horseman builds. And make sure, and I don't say it often enough, please make sure you check out everyone that participates here. I have the links down below. And we do this because it's interesting to see everybody's take on something. And when we've limited it to a very specific casting and a very specific theme, to be able to sit there and see how each of us comes up with their own version of our interpretation of what the end result's going to be, it's actually really fun. And I enjoy these builds to no end. And believe it or not, this build actually is finished. I'm always the last one to finish, and everybody's always waiting on me to upload. I'm actually done on time for a change, which is odd because I'm never on time. I'm always the last one. But regardless, the standard logos, there's a few different ones that they had, and whether it was on a gas station or whether it was part of their oil division or whatever. So I'm using this one that looks like a chevron, so I'm using that on the side doors. You can see I got my 80-pound scissors there, real delicate cutting out the wicked small decals so that I have like a little white edge all the way around, which is what I wanted because that's the way it was supposed to be. It worked out good. Decals is not my thing. I don't have the patience. I don't have the I feel like a crack addict trying to put them on because I'm shaking like crazy because the closer I get to something, the more I shake and my eyes start crossing. I don't know. I have a hard time. But anyways, this is why you don't see me do decals very often. I just don't have the patience to do it. To all the guys that do, kudos. I wish I could do that. Maybe I have too much coffee. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm trying to get better slowly, but it's tough. So, excuse me. But I use Illustrator to do all my decal work. I design most of the stuff myself. If it's something I can grab off the internet, I'll put it into Illustrator. If it's something that's really intricate, I'll redesign it in Illustrator. Otherwise, I'll just try to, maybe doctor it up a little bit in Photoshop, then put it back in Illustrator to print it. And I'm just using the regular Testors decals, nothing fancy. I think they're 8.5 by 5.5 or 8 by 5.5, something like that. It works out really well. I try not to have any waste, and I always add other things to the sheet, so I'm printing out more. The detail work was a little time consuming on this. I did have a barrel kicking around, so that's what you saw me painting at first, is an oil drum. So I'm going to do that. The interior, I decided to go with white. There's some parts of the chrome, because it was an all chrome interior, that showed through underneath the chassis, so I wanted to make sure I painted that black. And, some of the stuff you don't even see, but it's just one of those things that I like to do. It just adds a little bit more and makes me feel better inside. But the barrel, like I said, I'm going to paint that with the blue. It's got a biohazard engraving on it, so I'm painting that. And then I'll put a decal on there as well. And then I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to weather the drum to make it look like it's leaked all over the place, because we know how safe oil is. And without it, we wouldn't have cool cars. But the Null oil from Citadel is a black wash. So if you just try to think of how a barrel would leak from the lid. Like you've opened it a few times, and as you tip the lid back, it leaks. And that's kind of what I'm going after here. And with the shading, you can, or the wash, you can really get there and get the details out of it if you want. The more you put on, the darker it'll dry. So you can kind of streak it so it'd go from dark to light, so heavier to lighter, I guess you could say, as you go down. And then it would pool around the bottom. So, just try to think of how it would look. Sometimes if I'm at a loss, I'll Google stuff, and I'll, have some reference material available so I can get, especially when it comes to like rusting vehicles and stuff. I always have a few pictures on my phone that I can reference for how things rust. I mean, I'm from New England, so if it's a car, I pretty much know how it rusts. So this is what I started with, just a, pretty cool casting. And this is what I ended up with. It's an open bed. You can see the gas tank back there. Got my Standard Oil decals. I use my chrome pen for the grill. And I left the wheels with the wide whites, which I like. I think it's cool. It gives it the nice stance. It's got the roll pan in the back, minus the bumper. Same thing in the front. White interior. I hope you guys like this. Please make sure you check down below in the description for links to the other guys that are participating in this. And I will catch you on the next one.